Welcome to the Loreto Jubilee Celebration. This presentation is about our sister community relationship with the Holy Family Sisters in Guatemala. A brief description is given about the political and social context of Guatemala, followed by a description of the Holy Family Sister community. Country background. While much of South Asia and the Middle East are being terrorized by the Taliban, the countries of Latin America are being terrorized by the drug cartels. The drug cartels, also known as drug lords or narco-traffickers, have a powerful stronghold in Latin America. In many cases, they are stronger than the national military force and the police force. Guatemala rates 5th on the list of the world's most violent countries. Corruption, extortion, assassination, homicide, kidnapping, human trafficking, drug trafficking impact the daily lives of the Guatemalan people who live in insecurity. The civil conflict that began in 1967 and ended in 1985 left many communities devastated, especially among the indigenous poor. Many massacres occurred during this war, and all governmental and military officials who committed these atrocious crimes were granted impunity. The war was a class war that branded the peasants as socialists and were declared enemies of the state and were thus to be eliminated. As a result, persons of this generation suffered violent tragedies and suffered extreme oppression. Many youth, along with the ex-soldiers, turned to criminal activities for lack of education and other opportunities. In Guatemala City, the citizens live under the constant threat of violence. The gangs target the public buses. Bombings and shootings on buses are common occurrences. The natural environment of Guatemala suffers degradation. In San Marcos, the diocese is in constant battle against the mining companies. Many towns and rural communities have no sanitation services, so garbage is dumped in vacant areas. In the year 2010, many Guatemalans suffered from natural disasters. The drought of 2010 was followed by a volcanic eruption and then a wet season of severe flooding. Escalating violence. Within the Holy Family community, many lives have been personally affected by the violence. No one is immune. The students, teachers, and the sisters themselves all have close relations who have been victimized by violence. Among the Holy Family community, some examples are cited. Sister Juana Maria had a nephew stabbed to death. His body was found in a well. She also has a nephew who was kidnapped and held for ransom. Sister Virginia had her brother, sister, and sister-in-law killed by a grenade during the civil conflict. She also had a nephew who was kidnapped and murdered. Her nephew was missing for 22 years. The remains of his body were found last year. Sister Lucina's nephew was a bus driver in the capital who was shot by an extortionist and was left a paraplegic. Sister Josefa's brother closed his business, vacated his house, and relocated his family in the capital due to threats by extortionists. Sister Josefa was assaulted on the bus this past February. Sister Gloria's young nephew was shot several times and critically wounded by gang members this December. He is recuperating well. Francis, the cook in Chiantla, had 3 nephews kidnapped and murdered by drug-related gangs. Marcela, another cook in Chiantla, had 2 cousins working as security guards in the capital who were murdered by extortionists. There are more cases to cite, but the list would be too long. State of affairs. Guatemala has suffered much tragedy as it was devastated by a civil conflict that lasted 36 years and has resulted in the poor current state of affairs. Over 60% of the population is indigenous. The indigenous of Guatemala rank last in the Human Development Index as they experience deep social inequality. The literacy rate is 50%, while 22% of the population lives in extreme poverty. Fully half of the Guatemalan children under the age of 5 suffer from chronic malnutrition. A high rate of femicide indicates the low status of women. girls and women are at risk to succumbing to the plight of poverty. Literacy and education are key not only to their survival, but to the development of this country. Holy Family Mission. The Holy Family Sisters have been in Guatemala since 1933. In solidarity with the Holy Family community, Loreto has been fostering a liaison relationship for over 15 years. The primary mission of the Holy Family Sisters is to provide education for girls and young women. Their apostolic outreach extends to the poor and disadvantaged in the city and in the rural pueblos. Several Loreto community members have spent time in Guatemala sharing in their ministries. Currently, Natalie Wing, SL, is living and working with the Holy Family Sisters in Guatemala. Together, the Loreto community and the Holy Family Sisters pursue peace and justice in the region of Central America. Holy Family Demographics. A demographic background is as follows. The Holy Family community is a small regional community of 42 sisters dispersed in different parts of Guatemala and Mexico. They are also a part of a larger international community with 50 sisters in Africa and 16 in Belgium. Regionally, they are a multicultural congregation comprised of different nationalities from Honduras, El Salvador, Mexico, Rwanda, Congo, Cameroon, and Guatemala. Their indigenous sisters are of Mayan ancestry, representing 5 different groups: Quiche, Canjobals, Tachiqueles, Chorti, and Mixtecas. Their charism is that of education, with an ecclesial option for the poor. Their ministries are varied in the area of pastoral service and education. Holy Family Ministries. The sisters operate a large academy for girls in the capital with over 1,100 students. The academy is located in the center of the city, where the neighborhood has been steadily deteriorating and where much of the crime and violence occur. Another school in the capital that serves the poor is called El Milagro, the Miracle, located in Zone 6 of Mixco. This neighborhood has much violence, gang, and drug-related crimes. Over 400 at-risk children attend this school. Another school in the capital is located in Zone 10, Concepcion Colonia. This school has an attendance of over 500 students who come from rural families that have immigrated to the city looking for employment. Many live in temporary settlements. In the rural town of Chiantla, the sisters have a boarding school for over 80 indigenous teenage girls. If it were not for the school, the majority of these students would not have an opportunity to study since their parents are poor campesinos and earn a meager living. In the town of Uspantan, the sisters work in the diocese in a variety of pastoral ministries. In the towns of Ichiwan and Quiche, sisters also work in the diocese ministering to the needs of the poor. They promote the cause of social justice through spiritual formation, community development, and human development work. Exchange visits. Over the past 15 years, the Loreto community and Holy Family Sisters have participated in exchange visits. Ana Coop stayed with the Holy Family Sisters in Mexico, ministering to the Guatemalan refugees. Both Mary Peter Bruce and Alicia Ramirez spent time living in Ichiwan in accompanying Sister Juana Maria. In 1997, Susan Swain and Alicia taught quilting in both Chiantla and to the women in Zone 10. Many members of the Guatemalan Sister Community Committee have visited the Holy Family Sisters in Guatemala. In 2009, Kathy Wright, Lydia Peña, and Mariela Ramirez visited Guatemala in conjunction with the 75th anniversary of their academy, Colegio Belga. In 2010, Marianne McGivern visited the sisters in Guatemala for 2 months. Currently, Natalie Wing is living in Ichiwan with Holy Family Sister Juana Maria, ministering to the indigenous community. Of the Holy Family community, different sisters have attended Loreto assemblies and gatherings. For 1 year, Sister Marta Tomas lived in New Mexico with Loreto community members serving the immigrant community. More recently, Sister Rosario Rodriguez visited the El Paso community, where she learned about the Loreto ministries. Sister Eugenia Poo will be visiting this year to learn about Loreto's ministries in Denver. The sister community relationship between Loreto and the Holy Family Sisters has been an enriching experience for both communities, and one that we hope will continue into the future.